So we're going to go back to right triangles for a second. And up to this point, we've dealt with like Pythagorean theorem and anything that has to do with side lengths of right triangles. Well, what about the angles? Is there anything that we could benefit from knowing about the angles? Are there any tricks or formulas or anything like that? Well, there is. And the trick is this mnemonic device up here, SOH CAH TOA. And we'll get into what that means. But the first three, or the letters that come first in each of those three words, if you can even call them words, those represent the three basic trigonometric ratios for right triangles. So that sounded like a mouthful, but it will make sense as we go through this. So the three trigonometric ratios, the three basic ones, are going to be sine, cosine, and tangent. All right, so sine, cosine, tangent, right? Each of the first letters in those words correspond to the first letters of each of the words in that mnemonic device. So what we want to do now is let's go ahead and label this right triangle. We're going to label the sides and we're going to label the angles, and it should look something like this. We got angles A, B, and C, and then we've got side lengths A, B, and C. Side lengths are lowercase, angles are capitalized. And I want you to pay attention too that typically when you do triangles or shapes or anything like that, and you're dealing with angles and sides, it's nice to put the angles and sides opposite each other. So you can see how angle A is opposite to side A, and then angle C is opposite to side C, and angle B is opposite to side B. Just a convention. Starting with SO over here, we know the S stands for sine. So we'll put this over here. So sine is equal to, and we abbreviate the spelling for sine with just S-I-N. Sine is equal to what? Well, sine is equal to opposite over, that's what the O stands for, opposite, over, and then what does the H stand for? That's going to be hypotenuse. Okay, so the sine of an angle, which we'll see in a second, is equal to the opposite side of that angle divided by the hypotenuse. So here is an example. Let's do sine of A. Angles will always go in the parentheses next to your trig functions or your trig ratios. So yeah, and there goes the angle. So sine of A. When we have sine of A, for example, I'm going to go to that angle in the triangle. And this is going to be equal to, well, what's the opposite side to angle A? I'm just going to look directly across, and it happens to be side A. Okay? And then what is the hypotenuse of this triangle? Well, it's always going to be that side C. It's the longest side, directly across from that right angle. So sine of A is going to be equal to A divided by C. Whatever numbers we have for A and C, we would divide those, and that would give us the value of the sine of A. All right, next up is CA. All right, so we know the C stands for cosine. We're going to abbreviate that as well, just cos, C-O-S, short for cosine, is equal to the A, now that's going to be adjacent, divided by the hypotenuse. All right, so again, as another example, let's do the cosine of A this time. Instead of the sine of A, we're going to do the cosine of A. Okay, so again, go to that angle that's in the parentheses. So we're going to go over here, and then we're going to ask ourselves, what side is adjacent to angle A? Well, adjacent just means next to, so it's either going to be B or C. But we already knew from the last example that C, this is always going to be the hypotenuse, and I see that's coming up next. So it's not going to be C that's adjacent. What's adjacent to angle A is going to be side B, right? And then divide that by the hypotenuse, which we already said was side length C. So the cosine of A is B divided by C. Last up is TOA, and we know the T stands for tangent. We abbreviate tangent just by spelling out tan. So tangent, is equal to opposite over adjacent. So again, as an example, let's do the tangent of angle A. So again, I'm going to go over here to A, and let me get rid of this stuff right here. Tangent of A is opposite over adjacent. So go to A and ask yourself, what side is opposite of angle A? That's going to be side A, lowercase a. And then divided by the adjacent side to angle A. We know that that's up the hypotenuse. C is the hypotenuse. Even though it's next to it, it's the hypotenuse. So we're going to call side B, that's adjacent to angle A. And that is the tangent of angle A. So this might not mean a lot because we haven't applied it to anything. Over time, you will start to do that, but this is just an introduction into SOH CAH TOA, trigonometric ratios, and I promise you will use this a lot moving forward, and it will be a big help.